Okay, cool. So we're waiting for the New York real life people, us virtual little people. They have the screening there, and Ava Jean is helping them from the Artist Repertory Theaters, helping them on the ground to move the virtual camera. If people have any questions, Winchell, you can of course tape this. If people have any questions about this film, you can hit us. So Ava is here. Ava Jean Westland is on the ground in New York City, running the virtual camera. The moderator that we're having today, her name is Faye Ginsberg. Faye Ginsberg is a filmmaker, and she worked with the Real Abilities Film Festival. Again, the Real Abilities Film Festival is a film festival that shows films that center around people with disabilities. The moderator is Faye Ginsberg in Real Life, Fagel in Second Life. She's a filmmaker herself. I'm just reading her biography. She runs a program at NYU at the intersection of media and anthropology, and she's a parent of a young adult with a rare genetic condition called familial dysautonomia. Yeah? And she has been an activist for over 2 decades, president of the foundation that supports people living with FD, and she's also a scholar in researching transformation in the experience of disability. That's Faye Ginsberg. The director, Daniel Moschel, of this movie is in Vienna, Austria, and it's 4 in the morning right now. For the folks, the voice, Galla's voice is low. They can bring her up, but for Galla, you need headphones, otherwise we'll get horrible feedback.
There we go. Okay, so sorry for the delay here. We're just a little
no problem.
To get up to speed. We really, really enjoyed the film, so we want to thank you so much for the work you've done. And I'm wondering if I could open up with some questions, and then we'll turn to our audience here. So I'm wondering if Alice, aka Gentle Heron, you could talk a little bit about the relationship you feel between your on and offline lives. I think they were captured very nicely in the film, but Virtual Ability was an amazing experiment that continues now. It's a very inspiring project, and I'm just wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about how it's evolved over time and what you've learned from it.
Okay, and I need to let Login2Life 1 know that she doesn't need to transcribe for those of us in Second Life. We have Lori Vaughn and Ruby who are going to be transcribing for Second Life. The film shared a little bit about how I started Virtual Ability, but I wanted to tell you a little bit more tonight. Multiple sclerosis, which is what I have, is a progressive disease. That means that as more and more of the myelin that is around my nerves in my brain and spinal cord is stripped off, the symptoms that I have increase. Sometimes I get new symptoms, sometimes my existing symptoms get worse. This whole process is random, it's unpredictable, and it's also very definitely inevitable. So as my disease progresses, and I finally could not any longer go out to my kids' school functions, I couldn't volunteer in my community, I couldn't work, even working from home, I became more and more isolated. And then I finally ended up being in one room of my house in front of a computer, and days would go by and I wouldn't see anybody to talk to except my kids. I love my kids very much. They're very nice kids, but that's really not enough for an adult life. So I found an online chat group for people with disabilities, and I found out that a lot of us in that chat room were pretty much the same isolation as I had. And we thought, well, you know, if we could just pool our money and buy a big old farmhouse somewhere and then we could all live in it together, and maybe we wouldn't be so isolated from the rest of the world around us. Well, of course, that wasn't going to happen. So we started exploring virtual worlds, which were pretty new still about 7 years ago. Second Life was by far the most well-developed of those virtual worlds, and so we came in here, as you saw that in the movie. And we're still here. We have grown to almost 1,000 members. We come from 6 continents. We don't have anybody yet in virtual ability from Antarctica. And we continue to be active, and we thrive in here. And that's probably the answer to your first question.
Thank you. And please put up with my very slow avatar skills. First of all, I want to turn to our audience here in New York for a moment to see if anyone has a question or comment they'd like to make to our audience in the virtual world we see here. Okay, great. We have a person here. Do we have a mic? So let me try and summarize the comment. First of all, the person who spoke had wanted to express her appreciation for the film and for the work you've done with virtual ability, and she wanted to know if the dance animation that was being discussed in the film has actually ever been realized. Did I get that right?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the wheelchair walkie combo online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'll let Ruby transcribe this. Ruby, if you don't mind. The wheelchair walkie dances are not done. Stroker, who is the man who was talking with my avatar in the film, has left Second Life and was not able to do those dances yet. So we would love to have someone help us and do those dances.
I want to chime in here real quick, because now that we're talking about realizing that dance, I did very little on this film behind the scenes shooting Machinimind. We shot a lot of footage with Gentle and with all the other protagonists. We filmed the virtual stuff, and we were talking about having to realize that. And Gentle, there is a group of animators and motion capture artists in Second Life. I was just thinking of a Bremerlin Wolf who was in Scotland, and I think we have to contact him to realize that dance finally. It's sad that Stroker has left and never really finished up with that, but we have people who can do this technically, and I'm going to get right on it tomorrow, 6 a.m. I promise you.
Well, I'm glad to see we're furthering the plot of the film, so to speak.
That's a very good question, which reminded us of open business had to be finished.
So do we have any other comments or questions here in the audience in New York? We have one coming up. Just a moment. They'll ask the question, and then I will I'll repeat it. Okay. So the question was how people choose their avatars and whether they would reflect, let's say, if they have disabilities, like using a wheelchair in real life, what the psychology is behind choosing to represent oneself similarly to that, or to choose a different, more able-bodied kind of avatar there.
May I ask a couple of audience members to respond to that? I would like to ask Tom and Zinnia to respond to that, because they're both experts in embodiment.
Well, the way I would start to answer that question is that I think the number one problem in our understanding of virtual worlds, and actually internet technology in general, is our assumptions about what is real. And even though sometimes when people are talking quickly, they will talk about real life versus Second Life, that's very misleading. And it's a case where I actually wish that Second Life had a different name. And it's misleading in both directions, because as you saw in the film, things that happen in virtual worlds are real in many cases, like the internet in general. You can learn a language, you can spend money, you can fall in love, you can have a dance. That's all real. But it's almost more dangerous in the other direction, Because when people talk about real life in that other way, they are assuming that everything physical is real, as if there is no Halloween, as if there is no Broadway right there in New York with people acting in plays. So opposing Second Life to real life is incorrect in both directions. And even a simple question like this question about wheelchairs, you can't really answer without having that first thing in your head. And now other people, Zinnia and other people can answer that question about wheelchairs probably better than I can, but I'll just offer 2 or 3 thoughts. First of all, you have to remember that in a virtual world like Second Life, you can have more than one embodiment, and you can change it instantly. So to choose to wear a wheelchair, to have a wheelchair avatar body, does not necessarily mean that you are wearing it or have it permanently. It can be for an hour for one event, and that is a different kind of choice than in a virtual environment where that choice is permanent. Second of all, our relationship to our avatar bodies is very complicated, and in some cases it reflects how we think of ourselves physically, and in some cases no. I have tattoos on my Second Life body, as you can see. I have no desire to have those physically. I think it would hurt very much, but I like the way that I look. And sometimes people that I've talked to who use a wheelchair in Second Life, not all of them have a wheelchair in the physical world, but many do. And they think of that as part of who they are. Because one of the most inspiring things that you can learn from that film that you just saw, Login2Life, and from Gentle, and from this community, is even though this is a brand new or relatively new technology, virtual worlds, we must remember that going back to the beginnings of human history, people with disabilities have been pioneers in the use of technology. Since the first time someone picked up a stick to use as a cane to be able to walk, disabled persons have been pioneers in creative uses of technology. And I think what we see with Virtual Ability and Gentle and everyone here is something that everyone can learn from. And that includes how we relate to an online body, how it can reflect parts of who we are, and also how it can change. So I'll just stop with that for now. Thank you.
I want to mention that Tom is a professor of anthropology at the University of California, Irvine. And Zinnia, do you want to speak now, or do you want to type?
I can speak. Thank you. Excellent description of what happens here, Tom. One of the things that I want to emphasize is that, a virtual world is a place where we can connect with people, that we can communicate, we can break down barriers, we can change people's perspective. It is a great space that we're able to utilize, our brains to express who we are internally.
Okay.
Zinnia, the
Okay.
camera's on you.
Okay, thank you. So one of the things I was going to say is that, I have students that are in wheelchairs, and their avatars don't have wheelchairs. And I have students who will also wear a wheelchair in order to create awareness. So I think what's important is that regardless of what our avatar looks like, we should take time to explore more about the person, not just by their appearance, but through their actions and what they're trying to communicate.
Whoa. Ice Guy says our avatars are how we express who we are, and as we evolve as individuals, we're able to change the look of our avatars accordingly. Additionally, virtual worlds are an incredibly empowering thing in that nowhere else is it more true than in here. We are not our disability. Ice Guy is deaf, so she has to tell people this, but in here she gets to do so much more because there is no preconception of her abilities, and she's gotten to do so much more in here that she couldn't do in real life. And James says he's often worked with people in real life and had them role play doing things that they have never done in real life. and he feels that they cannot do, they feel that they cannot do such things. When they role play doing such things, they become more able to do such things whenever they choose to in real life. This allows them to live a happier, more healthy real life. This is really no different from what we are doing in Second Life. Cora says she likes having a safe place to stop pretending she's normal, like is often expected in real life with autistic people who are verbal and adult. eBuzz says he's social here, but not as much in real life. iSky says she has leadership roles in here that she gets passed over for routinely in real life. Deanna says to James that the research backs that up. Zinnia says we've all learned from each other. Pim says, I've known Sky here for over 3 years and just learned that she is hearing impaired. Pim did not realize that. Shyla says, I agree with community, but it also has expanded her concept of what is possible in the way of being of service for what might be possible virtually, which she might not be considered for in real life. And P.S. sometimes donning helps not get hit on as much on certain Sims. Lady Slipper says those in real life never thought she could do anything because she couldn't hear. iSky says she gets the support of members of this community. We all support each other. We get disability and we also get ability. And she's grinning at Pim. Oh, donning braces in here. That's right, Shyla. Treasure says, you see, we are falling over each other to share our love for virtual ability and the helps and encouragement we receive here. It is not a game. Lady Slipper says the support is great.
So can we have a moment? Do we have a question from New York, if that's okay?
Yes.
Okay, this is just to straighten out something that was happening, I think, before we had a technical difficulty. The speaker asks if Zinnia is, in fact, a professor of virtual reality, if she got that right, and if that's true, what that actually means. Did I get that right? Okay.
So I am a professor in multimedia and art, and I use virtual worlds in order to bring my online students and my on-campus students together. So they may not necessarily have an opportunity to meet each other physically, so they get to collaborate and participate here, and a lot of the members that are in the audience actually have participated with my students in critiques. I also was a lecturer for the University of Washington Virtual Worlds program and assisted with their program. And right now I'm earning another master's in arts in virtual worlds, so I can do even more. And I hope to do my PhD in it.
Thank you. We should get you connected to our interactive telecommunication program at New York University.
There's your connection, Zinnia. This is gentle. I want to read a few more. Annie says, if people go dancing in Second Life, the next day they might tell someone about it, but they won't say, I played a game last night. They would say, I went dancing. It's very immersive. And a lot of people are agreeing with that. C4 says, when I was in severe throes of PTSD, for which I was hospitalized for a while, it was in Second Life that I first began to feel comfortable interacting with people once more, and this during a time when I could barely leave the house in the physical world.
Can I chime in briefly? The folks here know that I'm doing a short documentary series on YouTube. Every month I do a 5-minute portrayal of a person in Second Life, and an upcoming program that is coming next month is about a woman who suffered from severe depression. She's much better now, but in that story I interviewed her, and you know, this may mirror a lot of people's experience here in virtual ability as well. It really helped her to express herself in Second Life while she was severely depressed, and she was able to express herself to others, and also through art, through building things in Second Life, through just the artistic possibilities. You can build anything that you like. You can just put blocks on top of each other. You guys do that too, Gentle. Maybe you want to talk about that too. I don't know if you guys play Pictionary or stuff like that. This is something that is a little bit in the Login2Life movie, but not that much. That you can build things. You can build a house. You can build a chair. You can build a boat, and you can ride around in that boat. So the woman that I'll be portraying in that short documentary, she says that helped her a lot to come out of her shell and improve in real life. And to me personally, observing these stories, what is really saddening is that the mainstream media usually looks at Second Life and gaming, if you will, as a whole, as an addiction and a pathology. Claire says gaming and sex, that's one issue as well, but we explored that Daniel did that in the film, I think beautifully connected those dots. But I think what is so detrimental is that you hear in the mainstream media always stories about people withdrawing to the computer. In the case of the woman that I'll be portraying, yes, she was spending a lot of time on the computer, but it really, really helped her. It would have been the same. Nobody would have said anything if she would have been in a room with sketchbook and pencils and draw, and everybody would have said, oh, great, you're doing art, or Sinya says here, watching TV. So there's a stigma attached to just engaging in Second Life, and that is so frustrating to me when I get up in the morning and I get my news alerts, and there's another article about Second Life and people divorcing and people being addicted, blah, blah, blah. There are so many stories that are uniformly positive, how that environment has a positive impact.
This is Gentle, and I'm going to read Dracona's statement. Dracona says, I found when I first joined Second Life I had low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, and ADHD. I found after several months my esteem raised from interacting in Second Life and translated into the physical world. It changed the way I interacted and changed my physical life as well as in Second Life.
That is such a fantastic comment. I feel like we're also reaching the end of our time in this auditorium in real life in New York. So Gentle or Bernard, I don't know if you want to have any closing remarks to give us, although that was just a fantastic statement about the power of this wonderful invention that you've created.
One quick closing remark. My hat is off to Daniel Moschel, who is sound asleep in Vienna, that he had the enormous patience and stamina to work on this film, I think for a total of maybe 4 years or 4.5 years, and to fight an uphill battle to get it funded, to get it out on TV. He had a support system within the public broadcasting system in Germany. There were a couple of people that really also fought that this film was made. I'm just really honored to be part of this, and Daniel fought really hard, but all the protagonists opened their lives, Gentle and Jay and all these people, they opened their lives to him and trusted him to tell the right story, and I think he did a fabulous job. So Daniel, it's okay, we forgive you that your alarm didn't go off.
And this is Gentle. Thanks everybody in New York and in Second Life for your interest in our world and our community. And you can visit us on the web at virtualability.org.
So before thank you, I just want to encourage everyone. I'm a really beginning Avatar user, but Virtual Ability Island and the whole world there that Gentle Heron and her colleagues have created is just incredible, and it's a beautiful example of how media can extend and enhance lives with disabilities and create community in very unexpected ways. So thanks also to our technical staff here in New York who kept us all online. We're so appreciative, and to all of you fantastic people. So thanks. We're clapping.
Ava, this is the clap, the virtual clap for you. Let me add one more thing. If people are interested to get us started in Second Life and find out what to do here, Virtual Ability is the place to go. You guys have people here that are very welcoming. I think you're even on the Second Life homepage in the destination guide. So when people drop in here, there's somebody to greet you, somebody to help you out, and somebody to get you started. Sometimes starting in Second Life is like as if you were from rural Kansas being dropped into Manhattan. Can be overwhelming.
Second Life, folks, if you want to stay, I think Drax and I will stay and answer questions.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks
we
once
will.
again, everybody. So goodbye, but we'll see you in
Thanks, Faye.
some version of reality somewhere.
Some version of reality somewhere. I love that.
It's just too many realities. Yeah, Gentle, can I ask you a question about the film?
Sure.
Has the film has the film changed something for you, or the participation in that film? What has it changed in your life?
If somebody can transcribe for me, thank you. I certainly am more out. People know who I am in real life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
And is that good, or is that still something to get used to? Do you want your old anonymity back a little bit? Sometimes.
Daniel was very clear when he approached me about making the film, about how public this would become. So I had to get over that early. Yes, I did learn some German. That's true. It's always uncomfortable because you don't know who is going to watch it and what they're going to think of it and what they're going to think of you. But it's been a process of opening up to the world that I think is probably good for me.
I am so proud that you did that. It's a big step to let someone into one's life. Either way, even if it's just even for a newspaper article, but certainly for a visual documentary, and that you did that is a brave move.
And there were times when I said to Daniel, I don't like that question, I can't answer it.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me to go to an assisted living facility and walk through it, and I could not do that. I could not. So he was respectful of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Questions, folks? I always have tons. My middle name is Nosy.
And James says some of his more philosophical friends would say that even First Life is merely an illusion.
Yeah, James. Yep. Yeah, I always say when people start with this dichotomy of like, oh, it's just virtual and real, and nobody knows what anybody is. Well, that's a slightly different point in terms of anonymity. I always say, I know the baker here in town, but do I really know him? But yeah, what is real? An experience is real. A connection with another human being is real, right?
Okay, Dracona has a question for you. I'll read the question, then you can answer it.
Okay.
Dracona asks Drax, did you find that over the course of filming, the aim of the movie changed, that you found something other than what you expected?
Dracona, this is an excellent question, and I only assisted in researching, and I did a whole bunch of machinima. So Daniel Moschel is really was the brains behind the final cut, obviously also. But what I can tell you in general, and I think he struggled with that as well, and then finally came out in a good way on the other end, is that a good documentary always changes in the course of making it, because, and that is my own opinion about what a good documentary is versus a bad one. A good documentary filmmaker goes in, observes, and then from the footage that he accumulates over time, puts something together that is representative of what happened. A bad documentary filmmaker goes in with a story in mind, and then forces the footage to adhere to that story. And I think Daniel didn't do that. He certainly had ideas, big ideas, what he wanted to show. He wanted to show how disabled people utilize Second Life and World of Warcraft. Of course, Corey is in there from World of Warcraft. So he searched the participants under that umbrella, basically, but then he spent years observing, and I think the movie probably changed a million times. While he was shooting, while he was editing it, and then the final thing is what it is. Was there another question that I missed, Gentle?
Yeah, there are a couple of questions here.
One tower.
Here, yeah.
Chris is coming.
Montut is saying the process of collaboration to set up Virtual Ability Island must have been amazing, judging by the results. What were the highs and lows of the process? So I'll address that, and then I think I want someone else to help address that. One of the highs was meeting fabulous people like the Sojourner. The Sojourner was the person who set up the Dreams community, which is for people on the autism spectrum and people who are stroke survivors. And Soj is amazing. Pim remembers Soj. She died before we finished building this area, but she was part of the committee that Eni Cappellini headed up, which was the design and build committee to create this island. So she was a major player in helping us begin our community. She was the founder of the first disability-specific community in Second Life. The lows, there haven't really been very many lows. I mean, there's problems, there's technical problems and stuff like that. There's always technical problems. But so far, we have been able to interface anyone with any kind of assistive technology needs. We've been able to interface them into Second Life. We have community members who are completely paralyzed. We have community members who are completely deaf. We have community members who are completely blind. And we've been able to help all of those people live very full second lives. And yes, Soj was definitely my dear friend. A lot of people remember Soj.
Chris Spade had a question here. I'm gonna paste it again. Do you feel more busy with virtual ability now, before it manifested in SL? Is that a welcome business? Has this experience fulfilled your life much greater than if you never seen SL at all?
Well, that's several different questions all at once there. Chris, my children tell me that I am busier now working with virtual ability than when I was employed. And I was employed full-time with a job that involved national and international travel. This experience of being part of this community is so fulfilling, much more so than my career. And you can Google my two names. You can Google Alice Krieger, which is my real life name, and you can Google Gentle Heron, my second life name, and you'll see that there's a lot of Gentle Heron out there. She has done much more than Alice Krieger ever did in her work.
Beautifully said. I just hope that the mainstream media listens to that. Sorry, I keep going on about the perception outside.
Well, it's a significant problem for us, isn't it?
It is.
And I think most of the audience here would agree with you.
It is, but we can reshape that narrative by just, by being outward, or if you have that personality. Let me just say this real quick. Every positive story that we share in our circles can reshape this narrative. I'm trying to with my Drax Files little videos that I want to give out to people so that they can share it, so that we can push back against this. We have to push back against the mainstream media owning that narrative.
Okay. Shyla says it's hard to explain Second Life to members of your own community, and I'll say that it is hard to explain Second Life to my own family. My kids tell me, "Mom, quit playing that game." They just don't get it.
But that's exactly the audience that I make the Drax Files for. Please accept this as a community service. My 5-minute episodes. Show them the episode 19 with Wendy, who is teaching chemistry in Second Life. Show her episode 20, where Flo, who is autistic, got a great job being a designer. Show her episode 21 with Rico and Eddie, who met each other, who got married, who live together in Chicago now. There are so many positive stories. Grab those 5-minute stories. And by the way, sorry, I just want to say this. I know that a lot of people here are deaf. The next story that I mentioned is about an artist whose mother is deaf, and she told me, Drax, you need to subtitle all Drax Files because my mom would love those, but she's deaf. And I said, I'm going to do it over the summer. It's not that much work. Actually, I can probably get it done in a couple of days.
Yes, we can hear you, Daniel. Shay has a question. Shay says, we are speaking so much about perception by the media and the general public about Second Life a lot here this evening, which is wonderful. There's so much more to Second Life than the scandal that goes on about in the media. So she has to wonder why within the first moments of the documentary Stroker is interviewed and such attention was drawn to exactly what many are working so hard to reverse. Daniel, you are the person who organized this film. You get to answer that question. Why focus on Stroker?
Morning.
Yeah, this is my first question. So my excuse is first for coming too late, and then you have to understand it's 4 in the morning here, and this question is not hard because I answered it really often. I think that sex belongs to our life, and if you want to portray life, it belongs as well to a film, and that's the reason why I put him into the film. So, and of course I didn't want to show up just the sexual kinky thingy bingy, but also the business side of the possibilities which are available on such a kind of new media experience and life. So that's basically it. And I was so amazed about the possibilities in 2005 that I decided to do a documentary which doesn't show up just the downsides of the downsides of this kind of platforms. And yeah, this was the reason why I like to do the documentary, not just, you know, I wanted to bring a point to make a standing that there's something else besides of abuse and addiction.
Montoot says, asks me, did I have doubts about taking part in the documentary, and how did Daniel win my trust? Oh, Daniel, that's a nice question for both of us, isn't it? I remember that Daniel asked me about wanting to be in the film, and I had lots of questions. And he answered all my questions very respectfully and explained that if I was uncomfortable with anything, I could tell him to stop, and he would stop filming or stop recording or whatever, and that we would talk through things ahead of time. I didn't get last right of refusal, but I got first right of refusal, I guess I would call it. Daniel, do you want to explain how you explain to people what's going to happen in a documentary?
You mean how I got your trust, or?
Yes. How did you get my trust?
Yes, of course, because this documentary was a hard project for me, and I never wanted to portray people in a way they don't like to be portrayed. This was my intention, my real intention, and you can say so that through Second Life I was able to do a kind of casting for a documentary before I really shot the documentary, it's in a matter of fact, it's partly shot in Second Life as well, but it was an advantage that we could meet, Gentle and me, and talk already in Second Life, and you were not the first person I was talking to, but after several talks I knew that we have a kind of common sense, and we understand each other. And when I came the first time in the development phase to Denver, it was like I already knew you from before, and this was the best thing, happening. This year you have somebody in front of you who you are acquainted already for some period of time, and that's nice. And I think this was the reason why we didn't have this kind of barrier, right?
Right, and I'll answer Emmy's question, how did we meet? We talked a lot on the phone, we talked by Skype, we talked by email, we went back and forth a lot, and then finally you came over to the U.S. to visit, and by the time you came to the U.S., I think we already felt like we knew each other.